And we're back. So I just finished Citizen Sleeper 1. Now we're on to Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector. And I'm very excited. Difficulty. Let's see. Safe. For those focused on the story, a low risk option. Broken dice are worth 1. Higher stress tolerance. Death is disabled. Risky. Let me see if I can. The intended difficulty. For those happy to be challenged, broken dice cannot be used. Standard stress tolerance. Death incurs a significant permanent penalty. Dangerous. For experienced players who want an unforgiving challenge with no second chances. Dice repairs require more components. Very low stress tolerance. Double energy depletion. Death is permanent. So I want to do dangerous, but I also want to get through the story. I think we'll do dangerous, and if I do die, I'll start again and play on risky. I think that sounds fair. And I'm probably gonna die. Skills, push. Reboot, accrue stress to reroll your action dice. Reboot config, +1 stress, reroll lowest dice. Operator. Operator sleepers are built to work with drones and remote machines over local networks to perform corporate resource extraction from a distance. Operators have expertise in working with interfaces and computer systems, but are more physically fragile than other sleepers. Their reboot skill allows them to hack their own systems to reroll dice. A risky but potential powerful move. Sleepers assigned to operator work are usually cerebral and precise people. Okay, this is our guy. This is our guy. You know, I didn't realize this in the last game that there was another option. Machinist. Focus. Accrue stress to focus and action dice. Focus config 1 stress +2 and focus lowest dice. I don't know what this stuff is yet. -1 stress on focus die, positive outcome. Okay, machinist. Machinist sleepers are built to repair and modify automated systems used in corporate resource extraction. Machinists are very skilled engineers, but their isolated work means they often struggle with tasks requiring a direct approach or social engagement. Their focus skill allows them to focus on a single task and boost their dice to excel in it. Sleepers assigned to machinist work are usually diligent, careful, and structured people. This guy's more like me, to be honest. Personality wise, but I want to continue with this guy who I chose in the last game. Rally. Accrue stress to boost your crew dice. Rally config +1 stress, +2 to lowest crew dice. Extractor. Extractor sleepers are built to work at the coalface of corporate resource extraction, often in hard vacuum environments. Extractors have a high level of physical endurance, but their confidence means they struggle with tasks requiring intuition. Their rally skill allows them to motivate those in their team, boosting their crew dice. Sleepers assigned to extractor work are often confident, self-sufficient, and have a high level of endurance. Yeah, let's do this one. Unknown, a vast and dark interior. In the moment before waking, the dark space before conscious thought, you struggle to find the pieces of yourself. Usually these pieces come with a particular cadence, each appearing sequentially, like the boot process of an old terminal. First your body, artificial, compromised, but relaying sense data all the time. Let me put this back. Then that makes sense. But relaying sense data all the time. Then its context, the breeze of air filtration, the soft contact of your birth in 0G. Then emotion coming into focus, coming into your body, bringing with it that first instinct, the one that has framed your past 100 cycles, fear. But that familiar sequence does not arrive. Instead, you are unmoored in space, your body distant, your context silent, even your emotions somehow obscured and scattered. Among all that disarray, only one familiar thing arrives: the fear. It is a scrambled, panicked fear, the drowning fear, the falling fear, the fear that makes you reach desperately for any stable point. It is the fear that tells you something is wrong, something is very wrong with you. Wake up, sleeper. The voice is whispered in your ear, an act that makes you suddenly aware of your head, pulsing in pain, your body rigid with tension. Did I get beat up? Sleeper. A familiar name, a mind copied, emulated, a body built, implanted. One person sleeping until their debt is worked away. Their double being made to work, to be consumed, and eventually to be destroyed. A proxy, an emulation, a sleeper. That is what you are. But you escaped. You remember that now, broke free of your corporate creators, S&R, in search of a future. You cannot remember the details of your escape, but you know the fear has been with you ever since. All of a sudden, you remember you have eyes, and your eyes flicker open. Lane. Relentless, cruel, and on your trail. It's a gangster. Pale eyes in a pale face. Lane. The name comes with its own specific sensation of fear, one you recoil from instinctively. Sorry to interrupt. A sharp smirk, but this ends here. You search your mind for more than a name. Is this how you reward me for my generosity? Lane is leaning over your horizontal floating body, looking down into your eyes. Took you in, protected you, gave you a purpose. You try to look away, to the corners of your vision, to find something you understand. Your body does not respond. But I suppose that wasn't enough. He reaches into the pocket of his jacket and retrieves a small vial. This wasn't enough? The vial glitters. This object, you know, and you have known for a long time. Stabilizer, the drug that kept your artificial body, your emulated mind, from inevitable decay. The only balm for your planned obsolescence. The liquid roiling in the vial fills you with disgust. Lane pockets the vial, but it would be wasted on you now after what you have done to this body of yours. He looks at you with a palpable disgust. Lane's eyes scan your body, and as they do, you become aware of the wires and tubes attached to you, those that were meant to free you from your dependence from the stabilizer and the control it grants Lane. They are free, you piece of shit. They don't need you anymore. The voice comes from somewhere behind Lane's head. It is a voice you know, but when you search your mind to try to understand why, you find only dizzying darkness. Shut him up, Lane barks the command, and you hear the sounds of impact, of pain from elsewhere in the room. You try to move your limbs again, and this time, you feel a flicker, the twitch of a finger. You feel the extension and compression of synthetic muscle. Free? Are you? Lane smirks. You were free when I disabled your tracker, when I gave you the stabilizer you needed. He scans your body with angry eyes. Now, you aren't free. You're just broken. I had such big plans for you, sleeper. I invested in you. Lane grips your arm hard and you feel a jolt of reaction. You will the arm to move, but you have ruined all that. Lane speaks louder, over the sound of the struggle behind him. I will try to preserve your body, of course. I have my own uses for it. But your emulation? You feel one of his hands searching behind your ear. Behind your head. He finds and grips the thick cable running into the port, the base of your skull. I will burn that out. Lane jerks forward, slamming across your body, then spinning away out of sight. You feel yourself rolling, the cables plugged into you, looping and wrapping around your limbs. Is that Fang? Is that my guy, Fang? Then you feel hands steadying you, pulling cables. You glance around wildly and see someone diligently unplugging you. You meet his eyes. Hey! He waves a hand in your dazed face. We need to move. Lane won't be out long. He unloops a cable from around your wrist. Sleeper? Help me out here. You blink, slowly. Do you know this person? He leans over you and you feel his hands on the connector, flicking switches, releasing locks. Come on. He tugs the connector clear and pulls you up. You see the room you are in for the first time. filled with tech and terminals, wires waving everywhere, all lit by big windows looking out on an impossibly bright, screen-filled street beyond. In the corner, you see the dark shape of a floating body surrounded by a glittering constellation of crimson baubles. Is that blood? Move! You are wrestled and shoved towards the door, which slides open in front of you, and then you are out in all that brightness, all that movement, gliding hard towards some unknown destination. You come to a stop in a dark alley. The one who guided you here, pausing to catch his breath. He doubles over beside a massive life support unit that sends a lukewarm breeze across your skin. You stare at him, trying to recall anything about him. You notice his tattered jacket, his lightweight clothes. You remember this station runs hot, something about the power that flows through the place. He looks up and meets your eye. What's going on, sleeper? He wipes sweat from his forehead, and it floats away in a swarm of spheres. Talk to me. Who are you? Who was that? Where are we? I think it's Feng. I think it might be Feng. And Lane was a gangster for sure, right? So I think, where are we? Somewhere on the Starward side, not too far from the docks, I hope. You see a concerned frown across his face. That's not what you meant, is it? He comes closer, eyeing you carefully. What station are we on? He narrows his eyes, waits for the answer. You close your eyes, trying to recall. You force your way through the dark to the image of a station. No, a city, growing on the back of a vast set of hexagonal solar cells, shadowed by them. You open your eyes. Dark side. The word leaves your mouth like an exhale, an instinct. Before you heard yourself sound it out, you didn't know it was there. He sighs. And me? Who am I? You see something like fear in his eyes, panic perhaps. You stare hard at his face, the slight upturn of his mouth, the intensity of his stare. Nothing comes. He closes his eyes and drops his head, putting a hand to his temple. A reboot. He is speaking quietly to himself. Lane interrupts the process. Lane interrupted the process, and he lifts his head and stares at you. We need to keep going. We need to leave. He turns and kicks off down the alley. Come on, the rig can't be far. Dark side, this is where we are. Sprawling urban station. As you are led through the passages and serviceways of the station, you try to recall your life here. The texture, the temperature of Darkside feels familiar, but you struggle to pin specific memories to it. Focusing hard, you recall waking up in these passages cycle after cycle, the rhythms of the station flowing over you along with the crowds. You recall desperation and the slow decay of your body that caused it. Then Lane, those pale eyes offering you a glittering vial, stabilizer, the promise of supplying more for your work. A deal he locked you into like a cage. There your memory fails you, but in the dark beyond that moment, the residue of panic or fear remains. You were Lane's prisoner, Lane's plaything. You shudder in the cold passage. Wait, Your guide holds up a hand, and you stop your glide using the wall. Ahead, you see the tunnel opens up into a wide open bay, with a few doors leading to cylindrical tunnels, the docks. They are watching the rig. He nods towards the docks, and you see one of the doors has a couple of figures flanking it, one covered in on tattoos, the other with bright silver implants along their cheekbones. It's Subu, Lane's guys. He looks at you and shakes his head in frustration. All this? It's not coming back to you, is it? Something catches your eye, and you see he is playing with a coin, nervously turning it over and over in his fingers. He sees you looking and slips it away. He places a hand on his chest. I'm Seraphim, alright? He looks pained when he speaks. Lane? He was our captor, both of us. We did this so we could escape. We needed to reboot you, to break your dependence on stabilizer. He pauses. You know what that is, right? You nod meekly. But Lane interrupted me back there. The reboot didn't complete, and he sighs and shakes his head. We can still make this work. He looks back at the docks. I'll lead them away. You get the docking bridge open. If we make it to the rig, I know how to get us in. Got that? He searches your face for a sign of recognition. What's the rig? Seraphim looks annoyed. A ship. Our ship. Or at least it soon will be. Lane assigned it to us when we were on jobs for him. Get that door open. He pats you on the shoulder. I know you know you can do this. Seraphim kicks off hard and glides into the docks. Over here, shitheads. He bellows to the guards as he barrels through. They immediately push off from the wall, giving chase. Oh. You wait a breath, then glide across to the door they were guarding. You look away, already panicked, at the tightly sealed door. Its control panel locked out. You hear a shout from somewhere nearby. You need to get it open. Tutorial, okay. During scenes, you may encounter skill checks where you can perform certain actions using your skills. Like the dice actions you will encounter later, skill checks have a positive, neutral, or negative outcome. The better the rating of your skill, the more likely you will succeed on a check. The odds of success are displayed when you select the check. You can see more info in the guide section of the pause menu. Hack the door. Break the seal. So we have to do break the seal. Pretty much 70%, 75% chance. Neutral outcome, check passed. You shift to the central access panel and wrench it open. You scan over the mechanism, looking for a weakness. Somewhere nearby, you hear more shouting. You reach in and grab the main latch, straining as you bend it outward. The seal releases, and you drag the door halfway open. It screeches in its metal frame as you pull. Go, go! Seraphim flies past you, through the doorway into the docking tunnel. You turn to see the two guards approaching fast across the docks, and quickly glide after Seraphim. Seraphim is already at the rig's door, inputting an entry code. The rig's door scissors open, and you both rush inside. Quickly! Seraphim grabs you by the arm and drags you up to the cockpit, the ship's layout hazy in your mind. He dumps you in a flight seat and straps himself into his own. You see him tap a series of buttons as he does, talking to himself. Come on. The rig's drive rumbles into life, and Seraphin slams a button on the console. You feel the force of the ship's acceleration as it pulls away. Hey, we out. Later! Ooh, good die. The rig, your refuge in the belt. As the ship glides into place on the connecting bridge, its automatic systems nudged there by the port's docking protocols, you feel a sense of relief. Seraphin burned hard out of Darkside, and you dropped in and out of consciousness in your seat as the rig made its way across the belt. But now, with open space between you and Lane, you feel fresher, more awake. Oh, new music, yo! Seraphin breaks the silence. We're good, sleeper. His eyes don't leave the monitor, and you realize this part of your escape is routine for him. You and he must have docked this ship countless times in your work for Lane. The problem is, you don't remember any of them. We made it, he whispers, closing his eyes and letting out a sigh. Stay silent. He shakes his head and then unclips from the pilot's seat. Seraphin reaches up, flicking through a set of switches in a practiced fashion, completing the shutdown. You watch, a little frustrated with your own uselessness. Running the rig, you realize, is just another thing you've forgotten. A clunk that runs through the walls of the ship is followed by a short, percussive alarm tone from the pilot's console. Docking complete. Seraphin kicks off from his seat, twisting as he glides past you towards the back of the cockpit. His hands find the rails on either side of the door and he pauses, facing into the corridor beyond. He turns back to you, backlit in cold cyan. We need a plan. He glances around. Lane's not going to let us slip away quietly, he sighs. We need to talk. We need to talk. Seraphin furrows his brow. Not now, sleeper. We need to forget. He flinches, the words coming out wrong. We need to focus on something other than... He pauses again, unsure. Us, he sighs. We need to survive this thing first. Then maybe we talk. Fine by me. Seraphin nods, but the tension remains. We have bought ourselves some time. He glances through the cockpit window at the blinking lights of the station. You may not remember Hexport, but I do. And there are plenty of opportunities here for us. If we can keep our heads down. He turns back to the corridor. That's what we'll do. He pushes off and glides towards the main lock, and you follow, pulling yourself along, hand over hand in 0G. We already emptied the tank on this thing. He slaps a hand against the ship's insides, so we need to refuel, and that won't be cheap. But if you and I know one thing, sleeper, it's how to work. I'm gonna get myself reacquainted. See if I can turn up any old connections, people that might throw us an easy contract. You? He glances back over his shoulder. You keep out of trouble. Low profile. Got it. Seraphin stops at the airlock. Stopping the reboot halfway through, he pulls a worn crew jacket from a locker and starts pulling it on. We don't know what that did to you. He jams an arm into a sleeve. I don't want you passing out in... He stops. I'll be fine. Seraphim drops his head, swearing to himself. He grabs another crew jacket and thrusts it at you. Just put the damn hood up, will you? You take it and slip it on. Thank you. Seraphim nods. He stabs at the button to open the lock. The inner doors hisses open and Seraphim glides through. Wait for a little bit, then leave. Anyone looking for us will be looking for two people traveling together. He looks at you in your worn crew jacket, a limited disguise for what is clearly a sleeper. We meet back here later. Any trouble? Same thing. We meet here. He surveys your disguise again and shakes his head. This is a shitty idea. He gives you one last look. Maybe find yourself something to eat. Suddenly you recognize Seraphim's instinct to look after you. A flash of a relationship now lost to the reboot. Catch. Seraphim throws a handful of something towards you. You manage to grab the projectiles, and when you open your hand, you see a stack of cryo chits. Those should get you some food. We'll need some more for fuel and supplies. He grimaces. That means odd jobs on the station. For both of us. Seraphim kicks off and glides down the docking bridge. Don't go too far, alright? He shouts as he leaves. Take it slow. And with that, he is gone, leaving the connection bridge and heading into Hexport's docking concourse. You wait for a moment in silence. Make a plan. You try to think ahead to what might be coming. You'll need to work. That's the first step. But what then? Lane will be coming eventually. The sooner you can put some distance between you and Hexport, the better. So that's the plan. Rest, resupply, and run. You shake the thoughts from your head and pull the jacket tight. Let's see what Hexport has to offer. You kick off and glide into port. Tutorial. I like this song already. Welcome to Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. The game runs in cycles during which you can perform actions with your dice, use cryo to buy food, fuel, supplies, and items. Progress clocks towards new scenes and events. You can review tutorials at any time in the guide section of the pause menu. Use the mouse wheel to scroll your view. Select locations with left click, right click to leave a location. Hexport docks, busy way station dock. In Citizen Sleeper 2, you perform actions by assigning action dice to them. The higher the dice you assign, the more likely you will succeed at an action. But your dice will be modified by your skill. Your skill modifier for the action is displayed on the right and will reduce or increase the value of the dice assigned to the action. Like skill checks, dice actions have 3 outcomes: positive, negative, and neutral. Each action is also rated safe, risky, or dangerous based on the outcomes it has. The more dangerous an action is, the more significant both its rewards and consequences are. For more information on dice actions, check the guide section of the pause menu. To assign a dice or item, click and drag it to the action of your choice, then click Start Action. Now we know how to use these dice. So chat to crews. There are plenty of crews milling around the docks and moving cargo. They could be a good source of info. Or explore the docks. Hexport's docks are a dizzying mess of braided cables and flickering signage, filled with busy spaces. Exploring is both thrilling and intimidating. And I'm trying to complete Hexport connections to Hexport docks from with life. There are contracts to be made here. You are sure of it. Contacts. Sorry. And this is, what was this? Hexport Exchange, Waystation Goods Exchange. It's like a shop, something. Trade scrap. Trading scrap is all about identifying materials and cleaning up components. It's an engineer's job more than a trader's. Or impress the broker's interface. The data brokers are the heart of the exchange. They show off their knowledge by discussing decryption. Maybe if you can talk the talk. I'm trying to get rules of the exchange. The exchange fuzzes with the conversation of commerce. This is a place where contracts are found. You just need to look. And this. The rig, your refuge in the belt. Tutorial. The rig is your ship and home in the Starward belt. While the rig is docked at a hub, there are multiple areas you can visit. Bunks, use dice to reduce stress. Galley, use supplies to regain energy. Other locations will unlock as you play. 1 second. Galley. Galley. A kitchen in a ship or aircraft. I see. Where am I? Where am I? Other locations will unlock as you play. While the rig is in dock at a hub, your crew will also help to gather resources or contribute to the upkeep of the ship. You can choose which resources they should focus on in the crew task menu to the left. They have a random chance of acquiring it at the beginning of the following cycle. Crew actions. You can quickly visit and leave the rig with right click. This clock is a cycle clock. It will progress towards an event each cycle. Its completion will trigger significant events, I think it said. On the run, so this is the bad clock. Pretty much how much time we have. You put some distance between you and Lane, but you are sure that he'll soon close the gap as soon as he is able. Rest and recover. Sometimes it is necessary to rest, or at least try to, in the compact bunks of the rig. This will help you reduce stress when not on a contract. Okay. Rig galley. Galley?
Galley.
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 Galley. Supplies are typically saved for contracts, but when food isn't readily available, you've got to use what you've got to survive. Interesting. Ooh, I almost clicked end cycle. Would be a bad start. So I need to do this. And danger for minus. Hold on. Tutorial. Welcome to the character screen. Here you can upgrade and configure your sleeper. On the left you can upgrade your skills to improve the skill modifier applied to your dice when you undertake an action. To the right you can upgrade your push the unique ability of your class. When upgrading your push, only one upgrade at each level can be active at once. You can configure which upgrade is active only while at a hub. What? -1 crew stress unless full. Oh man. Okay. Okay, I don't think I'll be able to level into it. So I'm just always gonna be bad at that. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So. I do want to see what happens. Win, lose, or draw. Let's do it. Let's see. Ooh, positive outcome. You just progressed that clock. Clocks track your progress towards both positive and negative. It can be filled. I can't read that fast. Yo. I got lucky there. Let's just use this die. I should probably save it. Let's see. Ooh. Spotting you are a sleeper. A crew shouts across the docks at you. You give them a wide berth. I think I'm gonna use this now. Hey. You have a good sense of this humming way station. Time to use that knowledge to your advantage. The Hexport docks run with life. There are contacts to be made here, you are sure of it. Hexport. As you are gliding across the docking concourse, you hear a scuffle. The noise of raised voices cuts through the conversation drifting out of the dockside shops. Glancing down an alley, you see a huddle of figures shouting back and forth. You spot one man in the middle of the group surrounded, pushing the others back as they grab at the bag slung over his shoulder. You don't like the way this looks, but then again, Surfing told you to keep your head down. What? Oh shit! I think I'm about to rush in though. Let's do it. All neutral. I wish it was more. Without thinking, you kick off and glide down the alley, nudging the parabola of your drift. Hold on. Parabola. What does that mean? A type of curve such as that made by an object that is thrown up in the air and falls to the ground in a different place. I see.
Parabola.
Nudging the parabola of your drift to aim directly into the back of the most aggressive assailant. You barrel down the alley, raising your arms for the impact. As you do, your target turns back to face you. You see the flash of an implant across their eyes before you slam into them. The assailant grabs onto you as you hit them, and the two of you spin together in 0G, kicking and pulling at each other. You manage to get both legs up between the two of you and kick him off into the metal pipes opposite. Then something hits you from behind, and the whole alley blurs as you spin forwards. Through the ringing sound of the impact, you hear curses shouted in retreat. You steady yourself, and a heavy hand falls on your shoulder. Femi, don't do that again. The man gives you a severe look, shaking his head at your eager attack. One of those scumbags knifes you? I don't want that on me. He pushes you aside in the corridor and throws the large bags over his shoulder. Sorry. The man shakes his head. You ain't seen sorry. Just step back, alright? You watch the man go, and then, after a moment, he stops and turns back. He rubs his forehead, looking down as he does. What is your deal anyway? He sighs. Maybe you are new here, but Hexport is no place for do-gooders. I know what it's like. To get beat up? The man shakes his head. Hexport's got real rough. Look, let's not hang around, alright? The man pats his chest. I'm Femi. He unshoulders one of the bags and pushes it towards you. Make yourself useful. Let's head. You get the strap of the bag over your shoulder and follow him through the docks, gliding past the concourse towards the connecting bridges. He cuts down a side passage, looking back to check you are following. Then he stops at the docking bridge. At a docking bridge connecting to a dull green ship with yellow markings. You look out the viewing window at its odd catamaran-like shape. Catamaran. That catamaran, a sailing boat that has two parallel hulls, floating parts held together by a single deck. That service. Right. I see. Yeah.
Catamaran.
Shape, seemingly built from two separate hulls welded together. Symbol crash, he says. And you assume that's the ship's name. Nia. Femi, you bringing in strays? A young woman brightly dressed and stretching as she glides, drifts into the passage. She glances at you. No offense. Nia? Femi shakes his head. This one, he squeezes your shoulder, helped me fend off some Hexport scum while you were busy sunning yourself. Nia raises an eyebrow. I'm sure you could handle them, big brother. Her glib response hides the flash of concern that passes across her face. You can't tell if Femi noticed. Nia turns to you. Thanks, she smiles sweetly. And I am sorry for my brother. She shoots him a glance. Just in general. Nia, Femi murmurs. Enough now. He reaches over and takes the bag you were carrying. Nia rolls her eyes at you, but stays silent. Factory Row wouldn't take these. Femi hefts the bags. I'm gonna load them back up. Maybe we'll find a use for them. He turns back to you. Thanks for the assist, sleeper. He nods firmly. Not what I expected. He slaps the button for the bridge door and kicks off along the docking bridge on his way to the symbol crash. Nia looks at you with raised eyebrows. I hope my brother was joking. Or did you really help him? I tried. Thank you. She looks back at the ship. My brother needs help more than he admits. What do you mean? She tenses. I don't know if... She smiles a tight smile. I shouldn't have said anything. She pauses, thinking. I want to ask you something. She takes a deep breath, then gives you a direct look. What is she building up to? Are you looking for a crew? She looks away. Sorry to be direct, but you seem like, well, if you are on Hexport, maybe you are with a crew. She stops herself. I mean, maybe your crew needs crew. Maybe you are looking? I am. She struggles to hide her smile. Nia looks back at the ship, then at you. Look, I'll be honest. Being on a crew with my brother is nice, but he is suffocating me. She frowns at her own bluntness. Not a kid anymore, you know? But he still sees me like one. She shrugs. I want to show him I can handle myself. I need experience. I need to run some contracts. She gives you a determined look. What do you say? Shouldn't I ask your brother? I'll think about it. I'm a good salvager, alright? You can use me. She smiles. I can spot things, find gaps, weighs in. She folds her arms across her chest. I know what I'm doing. Femi taught me well. She glances back at the ship. Just consider it, alright? Let me prove myself. Suddenly, a shout comes from the ship, echoing down the passage. Femi, he makes both of you nervous. Nia looks in his direction. I should go. She pushes off towards the docking bridge. I'll be waiting. Nia gives you one last glance as she departs, then disappears into the docking bridge, leaving you alone in the passage. New local crew available. I think. Look at these horrible die. Yeah, let's complete the day. So I got the Benz and the warehouses. Tutorial. Here you can eat in exchange for cryo. Eating gives you energy and stops you starving. Oh, I think it's a different types of food or something. Buy a Benz fry. A plastic bag of flash fried salt-flecked tubers. The Benz fry brings faces back to the scattered tables of the bar cycle after cycle. You squeeze your bag and crunch a handful of crisp and greasy radishes and potatoes. Not bad at all. Play Star and Stoker. SNS is a spacer gambling game played with custom magnetic dice. Chits are stashed in symbol-marked cans, and winning is ruthlessly luck-based. Into it. I don't think I can ever play this game. Jesus. I don't think I'll ever risk it. So what's this for? Freight loading. The warehouses at the Hexport dock supply the industrial operations of the station, meaning they need constant loading and restocking. Let's try it. Oh, and I'm good at it. I get a free 8 cryo. You settle into the rhythm of the warehouse and put in a solid shift. Let's do it again. Oh, you have to use all of your dice for this. You have used all of your dice for this. You need to end the cycle at your ship, the rig, to reroll them. Fright. You work hard to make sure the warehouses are stocked and stacked as they should be. You earn yourself a bonus. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Hex for exchange. Oh, I read that, right? Yep, I think I did. Okay. So we have to rest. All right, we'll end cycle.